What were your thoughts about the game? What did you see that Tennessee did very well in? What did you see that they lacked in? Just give me a general recap of from a college football genius mind.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I do. I'm
I,
back. I second that vote for the Chris Landry's genius.
I think um, what probably impressed me the most was how resourceful they were. I don't think their four-man pressures were very good. They ratchet up their pressures. They brought blitz pressure. They brought it from different angles. They got pressure and they manufacture it, which can be dangerous on the back end. But Pitt left some plays on the field and they weren't real effective throwing it, and they got enough pressure to mitigate some of the potential coverage problems. Did a good job defensively. Offensively, they didn't run the football very well. I mean, they didn't have a good game there, but they made enough big plays. And the one thing I kept thinking about in this game was they might lose this game because they can't score enough points. I mean, the defense is going to. I mean, and how ironic is that? Because I'm thinking, well, but they were able, they were resourceful enough to get it done with the defense, with the passing game. And look, the defense came up big. They only to 10 points after the first quarter. It's really, really impressive. And they came, and those points came up on short fields after making mistakes. So clean up those mistakes. So what I look at it, and I think people you listeners need to understand this, that maybe are new to me, that this is the coach that comes out of me. It's critiquing is not criticizing. It's coaching. It's always, well, we've got, everybody are results oriented. They won, everything is great. Now, had they lost, it would be the sky has fallen. I mean, it's just all of those things. It's about what you can do to get better. Now, so all those things were really good. Going to need to run the football better. And you're going to have, and their offensive line did not play very well, but they went up against a very good defensive line, even though Pitt was shorthanded. I wonder if Pitt has their quarterback for 4 quarters, if it certainly would have been tougher for Tennessee to get some stops defensively, and maybe it'd have been the difference. Ifs and ifs, they won the game, they deserved the game, they output. That's it. But I'm looking forward to. Okay, I think Josh is probably thrilled that his team won with defense. They showed some mental toughness, resiliency when they didn't have their best in one area, and they were able to be good enough in all 3 facets, even with the mistakes, to build up on it. So pretty good. I mean, I thought the quarterback play was good. I thought the running back play was poor. I thought the receivers did a good job. I thought the offensive line, again, against a really good group, they gave up 13 pressures in this game. Look, that's a really good defensive line that Pitt has. Again, I'm going to say that again for the 3rd time, but they're going to see good defensive fronts in the SEC, and it's about playing better. So I think defensive line thought they did a really good job. Again, their base pressure, their 4-man pressures weren't quite ideal. And why is that important? Well, it doesn't matter as long as you get pressure. No, it does, because if you can get base pressure, then you got maximum guys in coverage, and better, quarterbacks can and have success. I thought the linebackers were pretty good. I thought the secondary, when they got pressure, obviously was pretty good. Special teams was poor. Those are things you got to clean up going forward. But look, you go on the road, you beat a good opponent. Your second week, you got to improve like everybody else has to improve. I think the staff should be proud, pleased on the good things. And yet there's some things to work on and to get better, and say we got a lot of growth room and we're going to need it going into the league.
Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com. Check out that site. You'll know more about football than any of your friends. Chris's appearance brought to you in part by Owl's Nest Barbecue. Owl's Nest Barbecue has all the barbecue supplies you need, which includes, they've got the sauces, they've got the rubs, they've got the the pellets, they've got the wood chips, they've got it all right there at Owl's Nest Barbecue. So, Chris, what did Pitt do schematically to kind of throw Tennessee off schedule early? Because down 10-0, Tennessee scored more points than anybody in the nation in the first quarter last year. That to me was a little bit of a surprise. Did they do anything different, or were they just that good? You've alluded to how good the defensive line is. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. But did they do something different schematically that surprised the Vols?
Not a whole lot. I mean, they changed their coverages a little bit early, but the main thing was the pressure. They took away the run, and it forced Tennessee to kind of be one dimensional. And again, to Tennessee's credit, they were able to get enough done without the run game to be successful. So when you can make a team a little one-dimensional, it makes it difficult. So, and this is why it's important, is because all of a sudden you miss a throw, you drop a pass or whatever, you have some stalls. I thought it was the job that they did defending the run. I thought the defensive line play of Pitt was the big thing. It wasn't a whole lot schematically. They stunted their front a little bit, which is they moved pre-snap a little bit, but you can't do a whole lot when you're going, kind of Tennessee's tempo. So it wasn't really scheme that was the difference. It was a play up front that was the difference, with some adjustments coverage-wise that they did. Playing some spy looks and playing some false looks back there where they'll show too deep and then they'll bring a guy down. But that's what they did. They really took away the run, and it created some problems, forced Tennessee to win it with mainly the passing game. And, they did that. Now, let me just tell you, that was the reason why, as you alluded to, and I'm assuming this is what you're talking about, a lot of there's some missed throws. There's overthrows. Well, a little pressure induced, you miss them, and that's kind of, you stop defensively. I don't care who you are. You have to stop the run. If you don't stop anybody's run, anybody, anywhere, anytime, any level, you got no chance. Because the easiest thing to do is to hand the ball off, run it. You can't stop it. You got no answers. You're dead. So even if you got to do extra things to stop the run, it starts there. You got a shot of maybe the quarterback throwing a bad throw, the receiver dropping it. You got a chance if you stop the run and they've got to throw it. You got a chance of winning. You have no chance of winning if you can't stop the run. So Pitt just did it, and they did it with a lot of base front, so they didn't have to put extra numbers to stop the run. And then that caused a little bit of problems, some narrow throwing windows for Hooker, and he missed some throws. He missed some throws. There's no question. The other thing, I'm going to go back to it, and I saw this, and I said this after Ball State, and I mentioned it for a reason, because it didn't have anything to do with the outcome of that game. They still don't do a great job of working the middle of the field in the passing game. They consistently go with that fade stop, that back shoulder, where, I don't know if you guys remember, I mentioned it last week, running the red line. We call that in practice. In practice, you put that red line, which is 5-6 yards from the boundary, and your receiver has to run that and not allow the defender to move them off it, because that creates space, 5-yard space for the quarterback to drop the ball in. If the defender runs, there's a couple of throws, it's like there's no chance you can keep your feet in, even if it's a perfect. They're not running that effectively enough, and they're not taking advantage of, I think, some opportunities in the middle of the field. Now, against split safeties, you don't want to do that, work the middle of the field, but I know a lot of it was they couldn't run the football well enough to move a safety in the box to create more space. But two things, if you're going to run that route, you got to run it better than you're running it. And for all they just, there's no way. It's like trying to, it's like trying to hit, speaking of golf, trying to hit 100-yard shot, as opposed to a 3-foot putt. It's just hard. It's just, the key to success, if you're going to run that, is you've got to run it correctly, and your receivers have to stay on that, proverbial line. that imaginary line in the game, of course, and they don't do a very good job of that. When they do, that's when that play is let's use this analogy, is a slam dunk. It's an easy throw, but they're inconsistent with that. Give some credit to Pitt for being physical, but that's what you're going to do. That's going to be a staple. You better do it better than they're doing it against better secondaries. That's for certain.
So what do you think that Tennessee did, or why do you think they came out with the W in this game? What about them? Was it the coaching? Was it just better players? What made them win versus Pitt? Because it could have gone either way, as we saw.
I think the defense of Tennessee stopped the run, and Pitt didn't have enough in the passing game. We talked about going into the game. Pitt's going to run the football. That's what they want to try to do. And I thought the defense stepped up, and they didn't allow Pitt's running game. Pitt's running game would have got on, and they win this game. It's the ability to stop the run. So Tennessee, who didn't run the football well, made more plays in the passing game. Pitt could not, and that was the difference. Now, why is that? Well, you stopped the run, and you got good pressure. You got a lot of pressure on Pitt's quarterback, the starter, and the backup, and I thought they did a really good job. Again, I thought there were opportunities for Pitt to make some plays in the passing game. They either missed them or they didn't have time, and that's for Tennessee's credit. They knew that, and I think they felt like they wouldn't say this publicly, I don't think, but they felt like they probably wouldn't be able to cover well enough if they didn't get pressure home. So Tennessee was able to make plays in the passing game when they couldn't run it as effectively as they had liked. Pitt could not. And so credit those things. Those are the things that their defensive pressure to force Pitt's inability to make plays in the passing game and defend the run to start off with. That's the difference in the game. It was sloppy special teams. They some other things that they did that could have cost them the game. But one of the good things you like about it is you don't like those things. You're chasing perfection and you never get it, but you got to try to. It's just the way they were resilient. So the overall thing, resiliency. But hopefully I gave some specifics as to what those resiliency allowed to. Stop the run. We got to throw the football a little bit more effectively. They did. And we got pressure on Pitt after stopping the run, and they couldn't make plays. We're a better team. We get out with a win on the road. And look, that's why it was the way it was. If they had been Tennessee been able to run the football a little bit better, Tennessee probably wins the game more decisively.